Up first this evening, after days of intense public pressure, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has ordered a forensic audit into the $5 billion worth of unaccounted for oil at Petrojam.
In response to the damning report from the Auditor General last week, highlighting elaborate parties, nepotism, poor management and governance and bad management.
The Prime Minister and the opposition held separate press conferences today to address the issues, and we have comprehensive coverage.
But first, TVJ's Andrea Chisholm now joins us live with highlights from the Office of the Prime Minister. Andrea?
Thank you very much, Archibald and Doreen. Well, the scathing report on Petrojam has been dominating public discussion, and as expected, today's press conference was arguably one of the most anticipated from the Prime Minister. In response, he gave specific mandates to ministers and the board of Petrojam.
Over 600,000 barrels of oil valuing $5.2 billion unaccounted for by Petrojam over the last 5 years. For the Prime Minister, it could be wastage, technical losses or pilferage.
Some people have said it's stolen oil. It's missing oil. There needs to be a forensic audit into these losses.
Now, the Auditor General's report states that the then General Manager of Petrojam breached procurement guidelines with the approval of 2 contracts valuing $14 and $27 million each. Petrojam also paid a consultant $11.7 million, but the Auditor General could not determine the basis for the payment. In such or similar circumstances,
where the board sees that, for example, payments were made for work on a contract, and by virtue of delays and changes, the contract is terminated, but full payment was made and work not completed. The board should seek legal advice and prepare to recover such funds through civil means.
The Prime Minister also responded to calls for the government to identify and blacklist persons who received contracts in breach of the rules.
My view is that they should be named. I just want to be sure that I'm on a solid legal footing.
Discussions will therefore be held with the Auditor and Attorney Generals, and government will consider the track record of contractors before selecting them for future contracts. And with public outcry over the $2.5 million spent for 2 surprise parties for former Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley and former Board Chairman of Petrojam Percival Badu Singh,
if public agents cause funds to be used inappropriately, illegally, then those who benefited and those who caused the government to lose must make restitution.
in other words, pay back the money. The Prime Minister took note of Dr. Wheatley's comment in the Sunday Gleaner to pay back the $1,000 for his birthday cake and other party-related expenses. Speaking of Dr. Wheatley, this question to the Prime Minister: will you ever consider Dr. Andrew Wheatley for a future position in your cabinet?
I'm always a believer in second chances and reforming and redemption. I've paid close attention to public opinion, and I don't think that the public is of a mood or a mind in that regard as yet.
Mr. Holness adds that investigations and reports are still outstanding.
If the reports that are left to come, the investigations in the future, what he does going forward, then, you know, if the assessment is such, then it should not be a difficulty. But as at this moment, there is still things to consider before we could reach that point.
So, Andrea, did the Prime Minister give any specific mandate to cabinet ministers?
In fact, he did, Archie. Mr. Holness indicated that all ministers must have a quarterly meeting with the chairman of boards of agencies under their portfolio. They should review the minutes of board meetings and various activities, as well as plan for the upcoming quarter. In addition to that, Archie, the Prime Minister said that ministers must also meet with the full board, where possible, twice per year to do a policy review. And that way, cabinet ministers cannot say that they're not aware of what's happening.
Thank you, Andrea.